I mean, really simply for me, it's the timing of it. I've always shown it at Fashion Week in Sydney, but the timing of it has now made it. I'm just not something that I can do. It's made it irrelevant in the sense that I need to show around March. We then go into the sales room in April. Takes about 4 weeks to do that, and then we're in production. So by the time Mercedes Australian Fashion Week happens, I've literally pushed the button on our summer orders and are sort of well underway by the time it starts. It needs to come forward. It needs to be after the European collection. So it needs to start in March. At the end of March, ideally. So that we can show, and then a week later we're in the sales room and we've got current lookbooks, runway images, all of that. So for me, I think it just has to be then for it to become relevant, for designers to want to participate in it. And I'm not saying for everybody, but certainly the larger designers who manufacture offshore, you need that lead time so that we can have our stock ready for our first delivery windows. And those delivery windows are kind of that call is made by department stores, and then everybody follows suit. The day that that they want to open summer is the day that you have to have your collections there. And in reality, it takes about anywhere from 2 to 3 months to have like your production quotas filled. So you can't show any later than that. If we did have like a great legion of international buyers that were coming here that were actually relevant for the designers that we're showing, that would be fantastic. And I think that the amount of overseas buyers diminish that come to Australia now because of the GFC, because of what their different currencies are doing. It's not as appealing as it may have once been. I think that the budgets are spent, or we're incredibly early for the next season that they will buy for. In all the time that I've been doing it, I've personally never had an evening wear buyer from any place internationally that has actually come here. I think it's been more focused on day wear and on perhaps swimwear, but as an evening wear designer, I've literally never had anybody here. And I think that the Australian buyers are here, and once you go into the sales room, those people will come, especially if you've got an agent that is sort of looking after your brand. That you will get runway shots, you will get like a great DVD of your show, you will have stills that you can use in marketing, and then there's all the runoff press from that. You get things on the news at night. The magazines over the next couple of weeks will feature things. So and I've always said this, it's been a PR building exercise for me rather than a selling exercise. In my case in particular, I don't know about other designers. There is one fashion week, and that's in Sydney. The others have fashion festivals, which are consumer-driven events, which are great. It gets people to come in to see a full-fledged show that's on a really exciting scale, but they're showing what's going into stores at that time. So it's basically, you can see this on the runway and you can go and buy this now. Fashion Week, as it is a trade show. It's showing the next season. So what we show in Sydney at Fashion Week, you can't buy yet. That's what will be available to you in 3 to 4 months. So it really is a trade show. I would really love it if there was some kind of body that just kind of corralled them all together. Every different state is trying to show things, and some of them become quite regional. Like there's maybe Western Australian designers that show in Western Australia, Queenslanders that show up in Queensland. It'd be great if it were like one. It really was Australian Fashion Week, and there was a sense of oneness about it. And I just think the landscape of Australian fashion is changing, and what worked for us 10 years ago or even 5 years ago is not necessarily working for us today. And you can put as much into your brand as you like, and you can show at Fashion Week, and you can have glossy ad campaigns, and you can do as much as you like, but it's that point of that service at the point of sale, which I think is probably one of our biggest problems, because it's not enticing people to come into the marketplace and buy. It's actually pushing them back into their lounge rooms online, and buying something on a site in the comfort of their own home. Look, I started in the first recession. That's when I started my business, and everybody said that I was crazy, and especially doing doing red carpet evening wear. But I think the biggest thing is to be aware of what's happening around you, and to make sure that you react to it rather than think that it's a passing phase. The nature of the fashion industry in Australia is it's evolving and changing, and whether you like it or not, you need to react with that. And the other one is you've just got to stick to your guns, and you just got to work hard. You've got to knuckle down, see your way through it, and try not to look back and say, oh, well, I remember 3 years ago we used to, people used to come into the store all the time. We had great, it's changed. You've got to look at what's happening now and how you can react to it moving forward. If Fashion Week is brought into that last week of March, then yeah, absolutely. I've championed it since the beginning. I've shown every year. I've loved it. I love the energy that's involved in that. I love the fact that our whole industry gets together, that fashion editors are there, stylists are there. We, get our celebrities there. It's a really exciting time, and I think we need it as an industry, because I remember when we didn't have it. There wasn't such a thing, and Fashion Week sort of has copped flack all the way through. Are there great designers in it this year, or are there not? Do we have the buyers? Do we not? It's ridden through all of that, and it would be a shame to see that history of Australian Fashion Week diminish just because of a timing issue, which is what I believe it is. So if it's at that right time next year, I'll absolutely be there with bells on.